Mankind's success in space travels has increased many folds over the years, but great success comes through great price. In history of space exploration, there were disasters that occurred across different countries. Here are some of the saddest space tragedies which will haunt us for years to come. The first fatal accident in the history of US spaceflight occurred on January 27, 1967, during preparations for the first manned mission of the Apollo space program. A flash fire broke out in the command module of Apollo 204 during a simulated launch at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida. In this mishap, all three astronauts, Fergal Grissom, Edward White, and Roger Chaffee, were killed. A stray spark started the fire in the pure oxygen environment inside the module. In addition to it, the design flaws in the hatch door made it impossible to open in time to save the astronauts. In the aftermath of the accident, NASA officially designated the mission as Apollo 1. Just 3 months after the Apollo 1 fire, Russian cosmonaut Vladimir Komarov became the first fatality in spaceflight when Soyuz 1 crashed into Earth on April 24, 1967. Soyuz 1 was still in experimental stage at the time of the mission, and problems began almost immediately after it entered orbit, some 9 minutes after launch. One of the solar panels failed to deploy, which cut the power supply and interfered with the spacecraft's controls. The mission was aborted, but after a difficult re-entry into Earth's atmosphere, the Soyuz 1 parachutes failed to deploy correctly, and Komarov was unable to escape before spacecraft crashed violently to the ground in southeastern Russia. Eager to outstrip their counterparts in the US space program after the success of the moon landings, the Russians launched the world's first space station, Salyut 1, in April 1971. In that June, three cosmonauts aboard Soyuz 11 spent 3 weeks conducting experiments and observations at the space station, earning hero status back at home. Upon their return trip on June 30, the spacecraft made a normal re-entry and a perfect landing. But when the ground team opened the hatch, they found all three cosmonauts unresponsive. A faulty air vent had opened when the orbital and descent modules of Soyuz 11 separated, and the cabin had depressurized. The cosmonauts, none of whom were wearing spacesuits, likely suffocated to death 30 minutes before landing. As a legacy of the Soyuz 11 disaster, the Soviet Union and US space programs would pass requirements ensuring their cosmonauts and astronauts wear spacesuits during any phases of a mission where depressurization could possibly occur. On the bitterly cold morning of January 28, 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger broke apart 73 seconds after its launch from Cape Canaveral, crashing into the Atlantic Ocean from an altitude of some 50,000 feet. All 7 astronauts aboard were killed. Krista McAuliffe, a high school teacher who had been selected as part of the National Teacher in Space Initiative, was also a part of the crew. An investigation later found that NASA had known that extreme cold temperatures could result in damage to the spacecraft's rubber O-rings, but they elected to go ahead with the launch anyway, prompting widespread outrage and the temporary suspension of the Space Shuttle program for 32 months. After a 16-day mission, the Space Shuttle Columbia was re-entering the Earth's atmosphere ahead of a planned landing at Cape Canaveral when tragedy struck. The shuttle's orbiter broke into pieces, raining debris over eastern Texas and killing all 7 astronauts aboard. A small piece of insulating foam had broken loose from a fuel tank during launch and pierced Columbia's left wing. But because the foam had detached during earlier shuttle launches without incident, NASA officials did not think it was a problem. Upon re-entry, however, hot gases and smoke penetrated the damaged wing, causing it to break off and the rest of the shuttle to disintegrate. The Columbia disaster marked the beginning of the end of the US space shuttle program. NASA retired its last space shuttle in 2011. So that is it for today. Hope you liked it. Please like and share this video, and to see such videos in future, do subscribe.